know the story, right? Okay. So, the whole story about Adam and Eve was that God had an original plan for us. Pretty much had an original plan for mankind. And that was that he was the man, which was obviously represented by Adam. And the woman was obviously represented by Eve. Can everybody see me? Everybody see me now? Okay. So God's original plan was for us to govern over the land. He created a whole paradise. Un paraíso lindo, bello. They didn't have to work. All they had to do was just walk around. And it was pretty much just peace and love what was going on in ese paraíso. People said, in the Bible it says they can't even imagine how beautiful it was. The Garden of Eden. There was flowers that they couldn't even exist anymore. And animals. It was one of the most amazing, beautiful places in the world. And what I think is more amazing is that God Himself would go and visit them every afternoon. Every afternoon, God would come down and go talk to them. And have actually a real close encounter relationship with them. That was God's original plan, for us to have a close encounter with Him. We could have hugged them, we could have touched them. Imagine that. We think there's beautiful places out there in the world, right? Where it's like jungle and like when you go, what are pretty places? Nemo. Puerto Rico, the Bahamas, where else? Hawaii, San Tropez, where else? I said DR. Colombia, okay, ¿dónde más? Guatemala, the Amazon forest. Those are beautiful places, like the Niagara Falls. They're places where you go and you're like, oh my God, God created this. How can He imagine this? How did He even, first of all, just think about it? But God's original plan didn't go as He planned. Because what did they do? They sinned. El pecado original is when after we get baptized, nos lo quitan. Because that's from all the way back then, we already have a sin. And sometimes we can't stop it. Sometimes us in this society, we are programmed to sin. We're not programmed to come to church in this society. If you go to church, they think you're weird. If you talk about God, they say it's politically incorrect. I think that's crazy because God is the most important thing in your life. And why do we have to hide Him? Why? There is no point. Why do I have to hide the person that I love the most? But then again, we always feel like we don't have to hide Him, but we hurt Him. We hurt Him by sinning. Y nosotros los jóvenes, sadly, lo hacemos casi todos los días. Vamos a una fiesta y decimos, oh no, solo voy a ir a ver mis amigos. You end up dancing, and then that goes and leads on and leads on and leads on. And one little thing becomes a huge thing. And sometimes we say, it's so wrong, but it feels so good. And that's what sin is. Something wrong. something really bad, but it feels good. We pretend that it's good. We make ourselves believe. We lie to ourselves. And that's not what God's original plan was. And it's sad. Because we try to be good Christians, right? We try. Más nosotros aquí los hispanos. Our moms and dads, they brought us up with this religion. It's pretty much engraved in who we are. It's part of our culture. But also part of our culture is going to parties Saturday night and getting drunk. And then going to Mass with a really bad hangover. Or not even going. And then sadly to say, I used to do that. A lot of you guys are in high school, but when I was in high school, I remember our party started at Thursday night. And then we would go to 2 parties on Thursday. We would go to at least 4 parties on Friday night. And then Saturday night was a huge culmination. It was those huge parties, and we would get demolishedly drunk. And there would be drugs passed around, people doing things that I can't even say, things that I can't even imagine. And it's sad because I took part of that. Because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to get ready to go to college my senior year. I don't know if a lot of you guys have done that, but I know that I used to do that. Go to a party, leave around 1 or 2 because I had to go to Mass the next day. The next day I didn't even want to get up because my head would hurt so much for all the stuff that I did. And then I would be in Mass and I would be looking as they elevaban la Eucaristía, and I would be like, why can't I stop this? Why do I keep doing this? And then I realized that every time I would go to a party, every time I would drink, every time I was with a guy, I would put more chains on myself. Because that little white sin that I would tell my mom, oh, I'm just going to the movies, and I would actually go to a party, it snowballed. It became from a little lie to a bigger lie, to a big sin, to a bigger sin, hasta que me estaba condenando, hasta que yo me estaba poniendo, I was putting chains on top of myself, and chains, and chains, and chains, and then I was carrying on baggage around me. Because of those stupid little parties. What was that doing to myself? Nothing. It was hurting me. It was killing me. I was ruining my body even more. And that's what sin does to you. It hurts you. And that's why there's so much depression in this world. So much anxiety. So much sadness. So much anger. Tanto rencor, porque nosotros cargamos esos pecados que tenemos adentro. All that baggage, all those sins, it just piles on, and piles on, and piles on, until you feel like you can't breathe. And then your conscience says, oh, I have to go to confession, I have to go to confession, and then we go to confession, and what do we do the next week? The exact same thing. But I know I was guilty of that. Nosotros mismos no nos podemos salvar. There's only one person that can save us, that can clear us, that can erase all of our sins. And I just want to play a little clip so you guys can realize how sin gets into your life.